Let me give you a truth most men never hear. Women don't pull away because you were too cold, too detached, or too unavailable. They pull away because you gave them access to parts of you they hadn't earned. You gave too much trust, too much forgiveness, too much effort, too much of your future. You gave without limits, and she felt the imbalance before you did, because a woman doesn't lose interest randomly. She loses interest when she realizes you're more invested in her than you are in yourself. And if you've ever felt confused by that shift, her sudden distance, her fading affection, her lack of respect, there's a reason. You crossed lines you didn't know existed. In this video, I'm breaking down the 10 things a man must never do for a woman so you never undermine your own value again. I've watched this pattern unfold in thousands of men, smart, capable, good men, who still end up losing respect in their relationships because no one taught them how boundaries actually work. Women aren't confused. They respond to structure, they respond to certainty, and when you don't bring that energy, the relationship follows a predictable decline every single time. What I'm giving you in this video is the exact framework I've used to help men regain their confidence and rewrite their entire dynamic. If you want that same clarity, hit like and subscribe. Then write in the comments, "I'm ready to lead my life again." Say it so your mind hears it. Because the shift starts here. And it begins with understanding the first mistake that quietly destroys a man's value. Number 1, never forgive cheating twice. A betrayal is never an accident, and every man needs to hear that without flinching. When a woman crosses that line, she didn't trip. She didn't get confused. She made a decision. And the moment you rush to forgive her, hoping it will fix the connection, you don't realize you're sending a message she reads crystal clear. Your boundaries are negotiable, and your self-respect is optional. What most men don't understand is this: women evaluate you through your standards, not your compliments, not your affection, your standards. When she sees you accept infidelity, she subconsciously re-evaluates your value. She may tell you she's ashamed. She may swear it will never happen again. She may cry until your shirt is soaked through. But tears don't erase her mental recalibration. She now knows she can pull emotional strings, and you will bend. It's not just the cheating itself that destroys the dynamic. It's the fact that you stayed. Women aren't drawn to men who make themselves disposable. They're drawn to men who protect their dignity without hesitation. When you forgive betrayal twice, you're not choosing love. You're choosing self-abandonment. If you want to rebuild your life with strength, you draw the line once. You make it clear what is tolerable and what ends the relationship immediately. Not through anger, not through shouting, through calm, final certainty. A man who enforces his boundaries without drama is a man who keeps his power. And here is the truth you can't negotiate away. A woman respects a man with firm limits far more than a man who tries to earn love by absorbing disrespect. Number 2, never ask for permission to live your life. There is a difference between sharing your plans with a woman and asking her for permission to live your life. Too many men blur that line, and the moment it happens, the entire dynamic shifts. When you treat her as the final authority over your decisions, you quietly place yourself beneath her. You turn partnership into hierarchy and you sit at the bottom. Women don't lose respect for men because they communicate. They lose respect when a man hands over his agency. When you hesitate, waiting for her approval before you take a trip, accept an opportunity, attend an event, or even commit to a simple social plan, she doesn't see a considerate partner. She sees a man who needs to be managed. And once that impression forms, it spreads into every corner of the relationship. Think about what it signals when you let her answer on your behalf in public. Someone asks you a direct question, and you instinctively glance at her. She steps in, speaks for you, and you stand there like a man who forgot he has a voice. That one moment is enough for her to reframe you, not as a leader, but as someone who follows. And a follower never holds the emotional gravity she instinctively looks for. A woman should be informed, not consulted like a supervisor. You make the decision, then you communicate it, not to seek approval, but to maintain transparency. That is what steadiness looks like. That is what strength feels like from a woman's perspective. Direction, confidence, and the ability to move without waiting for permission. When a man stands firmly in his choices, he becomes someone a woman can relax next to. When he doesn't, she fills the vacuum he leaves behind. And once you make her the decision maker, don't be surprised when she treats you like someone who needs to be directed. Number 3, never go broke for female validation. There's a pattern almost every man has fallen into at least once. Spending money to impress a woman who never asked for depth, only display, and the truth is brutally simple. When you use money to buy attention, you train her to value the performance, not the man behind it. That's how men lose themselves without realizing they're depleting themselves financially and emotionally at the same time. Men throw money at dates, trips, gifts, and flashy moments because they believe effort is measured by price tags. They think generosity will buy loyalty. But women don't respond to excess the way men imagine. Stability attracts them, not spectacle. Confidence, not overspending. Direction, not debt. When a woman sees you stretching beyond your means, borrowing, spending aggressively, living above your financial reality, she doesn't admire the sacrifice. She questions your judgment. She wonders how a man can lead a future when he cannot lead himself. And once that seed of doubt is planted, it grows fast. Most importantly, overspending creates a trap. She starts associating your presence with constant giving. You become the source of experiences, not the source of strength. The moment you can't maintain that pace, the dynamic shifts, the excitement fades, the pressure rises, and you realize you trained her to see you as a provider she never had to earn. A man protects his finances the same way he protects his time and his boundaries, with discipline. You invest in yourself first, your stability, your education, your growth, your foundation. When a woman respects you, she respects the structure of your life too. When she only respects your wallet, you'll always be one missed paycheck away from losing her interest. Here's the truth most men avoid. If you have to spend heavily to be noticed, you were never chosen. You were purchased, and purchases are temporary. Number 4, never allow her to micromanage your life. Control never enters a relationship all at once. It comes in small, almost invisible increments, requests that feel reasonable, check-ins that seem caring, small demands disguised as concern. And before a man realizes it, he's not in a relationship anymore. He's in a system of surveillance he accidentally agreed to. When a woman begins to micromanage, it usually comes from 2 places: insecurity and the instinct to take charge when she senses a leadership vacuum. And if you comply, if you let her monitor your location, police your schedule, question every purchase, or scroll through your messages like a supervisor auditing an employee, you reinforce the exact dynamic that will destroy attraction over time. Because here's what men forget. The more a woman has to manage you, the less she can admire you. The more she tracks you, the less she trusts you. And the more she controls your world, the less she respects the man living in it. A woman is not drawn to someone she manages. She is drawn to someone she can lean on. The real danger is that micromanagement reshapes your identity quietly. You lose initiative. You hesitate before making decisions. You police your own actions to avoid conflict. You operate like a man expecting consequences instead of a man directing his own life. That shift kills attraction faster than any argument ever could. A strong man doesn't push back with anger. He pushes back with clarity. He sets limits on what is acceptable and what crosses the line. He decides what privacy means, what transparency means, and what mutual respect looks like. And he communicates it calmly without apology, because no woman truly desires a man she can control from the palm of her hand. She desires a man who knows where he's going with or without her approval. Number 5, never lie to make her feel better. A woman can feel the difference between truth and flattery the same way you can feel the difference between respect and tolerance. The moment you start sugarcoating, you might think you're protecting her feelings, but what you're really doing is dismantling her trust, one soft lie at a time. And once trust erodes, nothing you say ever lands with weight again. Men lie out of fear. Fear of conflict, fear of hurting her, fear of losing harmony. But a woman doesn't lose respect for you because you tell her the truth. She loses respect because you're too afraid to. When you compliment something you don't believe in or avoid pointing out the habits that are damaging the relationship, she doesn't hear kindness. She hears weakness. Women are highly attuned to emotional inconsistencies. If her outfit doesn't look good and you say it does, she knows. If she's slipping into unhealthy behavior and you pretend not to notice, she knows. If you keep nodding along just to avoid friction, she knows. And once she realizes you're willing to distort reality to keep the peace, she stops relying on your words altogether. Honesty doesn't require brutality. It requires backbone. It means you can deliver the truth with steadiness, not irritation. You can tell her this isn't working without raising your voice. You can call out patterns that are harming both of you, lack of discipline, disrespect, unhealthy habits, and do it from a place of clarity, not cruelty. A man who tells the truth becomes a grounding force in her life. A man who hides behind lies becomes noise she tunes out. Women may not always like the truth in the moment, but they anchor themselves to men who stand on it consistently. Because in the end, masculinity isn't about appearing strong. It's about refusing to compromise reality, to make someone else temporarily comfortable. And a woman respects the man she cannot mislead. Number 6, never normalize girls' nights out without boundaries. A woman having her own social life is healthy. Independence is attractive. But when a man pretends that every environment is harmless, he sets himself up for disrespect he could have prevented. Not because she's untrustworthy, because human behavior is shaped by the energy of the group she steps into. And nothing changes a woman's mindset faster than being surrounded by people who live like they owe no one anything. When a woman goes out consistently with friends who are single, unrestrained, or deeply invested in attention from men, she's stepping into an atmosphere built on impulse, validation, and performance. Most men underestimate how powerful group psychology is. A woman who is normally grounded can still get swept into the rhythm of a crowd that thrives on being seen. And without boundaries, that environment eventually bleeds into the relationship. It's not about policing her. It's about understanding that every space influences behavior. When her nights out become frequent, unstructured, or filled with people who disrespect relationships in general, something subtle shifts. She becomes less accountable, less considerate, less anchored. And if you stay silent out of fear of looking controlling, you allow the dynamic to unravel quietly while pretending everything is normal. The solution isn't forbidding her from living her life. It's establishing mutual respect. You articulate what aligns with the relationship and what doesn't. You communicate the difference between healthy independence and reckless environments. You explain that commitment requires both people to protect the relationship, not just inside the home, but also in the spaces they choose to enter. A man without standards invites chaos. A man with standards invites clarity. When you define what is acceptable and she respects it, the relationship strengthens. If she resists any form of boundary, what she wants isn't partnership. It's freedom without responsibility. And when you fail to set the standard, the crowd she surrounds herself with will gladly set it for her. Number 7, never choose her over your purpose. Nothing destroys a man faster than abandoning the very thing that makes him who he is. Yet countless men do it the moment they fall in love. They start shrinking their ambitions, delaying their goals, rearranging their entire future around a woman who never asked for that sacrifice and wouldn't respect it even if she did. Because a woman may enjoy being prioritized, but she loses attraction the moment she realizes she outranks your direction. A man without purpose becomes emotionally dependent. He becomes softer, needier, easier to sway. He starts living reactively, responding to her mood, her schedule, her desires, while his own identity fades into the background. And women don't consciously intend to punish a man for doing this. But attraction isn't logical. When she senses he has stopped striving, she instinctively questions his long-term value. Purpose is the backbone of masculinity. It's the structure a woman leans on. When you drop your goals for her, you signal that you can be pulled off course by emotion, and that makes you unreliable, not romantic. She may enjoy the attention for a moment, but eventually she will feel the hollowness beneath it. She'll notice the lack of fire, the loss of ambition, the absence of challenge, and instead of feeling cherished, she'll feel responsible for the void you created. A man doesn't become irreplaceable by orbiting a woman. He becomes irreplaceable by building a life she admires, a life she wants to join, not control. When you choose your path over temporary comfort, you elevate yourself. You become a force she respects because you refuse to betray your own potential. Your purpose isn't competition. It's the foundation that makes you worth following. And the moment you sacrifice it to keep her close, you guarantee she'll drift away. Women don't fall in love with men who disappear into them. They fall in love with men who remain rooted in something larger than the relationship itself. Number 8, never cancel important commitments for her. A woman will test the weight of your word long before she tests the depth of your feelings. And nothing reveals a man's weakness faster than abandoning his responsibilities just because she needs him right now. Not real emergencies. Those are different. I'm talking about canceling your plans, your meetings, your projects, your obligations to others simply because she's upset, bored, or craving attention. The moment you do that, you teach her one thing. Your life bends easily. Women watch how a man treats his commitments. They watch how he honors his schedule, how he follows through on promises, how he shows up when he says he will. Those traits signal reliability, stability, and leadership. But when she sees you drop everything instantly whenever she expresses discomfort, she doesn't interpret it as devotion. She interprets it as lack of structure, lack of discipline, lack of backbone. And once she senses that you're willing to abandon your own world to stabilize her emotions, she unconsciously assigns you a new role, emotional concierge. You become the man who rearranges his identity to keep her regulated. That's not love. That's self-erasure. The long-term cost is heavier than you think. You'll begin to resent her for the sacrifices she never asked you to make. She'll begin to resent you for the weakness she never intended to encourage. And the relationship becomes a pattern of you overgiving and her undervaluing until neither of you recognizes the man you used to be. A strong man doesn't abandon his commitments. He organizes them. He communicates them. He honors them. He makes room for his relationship, but he never replaces his responsibilities with it. Because the world only takes a man seriously if he takes himself seriously first. If your word doesn't carry weight with others, it won't carry weight with her either. And a man who cannot hold his ground will eventually lose the ground he stands on. Number 9, never pretend to like her passions. One of the fastest ways a man loses his identity in a relationship is by forcing himself to enjoy everything she enjoys. It sounds supportive. It looks sweet on the surface, but underneath it sends a message that slowly kills attraction. You're willing to abandon your individuality just to stay close to her. And no woman desires the version of a man who dissolves into her life like that. A woman's passions are part of what makes her human. She should have interests, hobbies, creative outlets, and personal pursuits that light her up, but they are hers, not yours. And when you pretend to love what she loves, whether it's her hobbies, her style of entertainment, her creative world, or her social circles, you don't become more compatible. You become less defined. You stop being the man she was drawn to and turn into a mirror reflecting her own identity back at her. Women don't consciously reject this at first. They may think it's sweet, even flattering, but subconsciously something shifts. A man without his own passions feels empty. He becomes predictable, overly available, and emotionally dependent on her validation. She doesn't feel the polarity she needs, the contrast between her world and his. And attraction thrives on contrast. Your passions matter because they remind her you have a life beyond her. You have direction. You have an identity anchored in something deeper than the relationship. A man who protects his interests, pursues his hobbies, and engages in his own world becomes someone she can admire, someone she can be curious about, someone she can look up to. Supporting her passion doesn't mean inheriting it. Encouragement is healthy. Imitation is not. You can stand beside her without stepping into her shadow, and you can be supportive without becoming an extension of her personality. A woman doesn't want a duplicate of herself. She wants a man who brings a world she can walk into, not a man who abandons his world to live in hers. Number 10, never sign anything if you're not sure you're the father. There are decisions a man can recover from, and there are decisions that alter the rest of his life with a single signature. This is one of the latter. Too many men sign legal documents under emotional pressure. Because she's crying, because her family is watching, because the hospital room feels tense, because they think refusing will make them look heartless. But looking heartless for 5 minutes is nothing compared to living a lie for 18 years. When uncertainty exists, even faintly, it must be respected. Doubt is not disrespect. Doubt is due diligence. But society teaches men that asking for clarity makes them insensitive, cruel, untrusting. That conditioning pushes them into choices rooted in guilt, not reality. And women, intentionally or unintentionally, can lean into that pressure during a moment when you are the most emotionally vulnerable. The psychological cost of signing prematurely is significant. You take on responsibility for a child who might not be yours. You assume financial, emotional, and legal burdens that shape your entire future. And if the truth surfaces later, the world won't protect you. Systems are not built to undo emotional decisions made under pressure. They are built to enforce them. This is not about attacking her character. It's about protecting your life. A responsible man verifies. He doesn't act impulsively. He doesn't sign until truth is established, not suggested. And he refuses to let fear of judgment override the need for certainty. A man who safeguards himself from irreversible responsibility isn't paranoid. He's grounded. He understands that commitment requires clarity, that fatherhood demands truth, and that a signature without certainty is not love. It is self-sacrifice at the expense of his future. Before you make a lifelong promise, make sure the life in question is truly connected to yours, because responsibility this large is sacred, and sacred things require proof. There's a pattern every man eventually wakes up to. You don't lose your power because a woman took it. You lose it the moment you start abandoning the parts of yourself that made you strong in the first place. And every rule you heard today points back to that same root, self-betrayal disguised as love. When a man ignores betrayal, avoids confrontation, overspends to be liked, gives up his direction, or compromises on responsibilities, he's not choosing the relationship. He's choosing to disappear inside it. And no woman can respect a man who disappears, not because she's cruel, but because respect is built on structure, on boundaries, on identity. When those collapse, attraction collapses with them. What you saw in these 10 lessons isn't a list of restrictions. It's a framework, a blueprint for how a man protects his mind, his integrity, and his future. It's a reminder that every decision you make, every standard you enforce, every boundary you hold is shaping how the world responds to you, including the woman you share your life with. Strength isn't loud, it isn't aggressive, it isn't controlling. Strength is the quiet discipline of refusing to negotiate your values just to keep someone close. It's the clarity to say, this is who I am, and this is the line. When you live like that, A woman doesn't feel limited by you. She feels safer with you because she knows you won't crumble under pressure and you won't reshape yourself to fit inside her emotions. So before you leave this video, choose one thing you know you've been doing wrong, one pattern you've been tolerating, one place where you've been shrinking, and make a decision. Not loud, not dramatic, but final. The kind of decision a man makes when he's done abandoning himself, because when you start protecting your standards, you don't lose women, you lose chaos. And the right woman will meet you at the level you hold, not the level you fall to. If this opened your eyes, take a second to engage. Like, share, and subscribe. Do it as a reminder to yourself that you're committed to becoming a stronger man than you were yesterday. And tell me in the comments which truth hit you the hardest today.